What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a new video. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Hope you're doing well. Everything's well on your side. Today we're back with another topic suggestion video, and in these videos I open the floor to you guys to let me know what it is you'd like to see me talk about. Perhaps it's something going on around the world, or perhaps it's something you're personally interested in. If there is something you'd like to see me do, let me know in the comment section below. But today we've got a suggestion from TikTok from Hudson. Huge shout out to Hudson for leaving the comment, for leaving the topic on this video. Let's get into the comment and then we can jump into the topics. So the comment reads as follows. How do you feel about the BP community? Now, initially, when I read BP, I didn't know exactly what that meant. I had to ask a follow-up question what it means. And it stands for blackpilling, or it means blackpill. Blackpilling. And we're going to talk about blackpilling and Looksmaxxing. So it's kind of going to be a two-parter today in terms of two different topics we're going to talk about. And this video is going to be based on this research or overview I asked basically Google, because I didn't know exactly what it meant. And that's what this video is going to be based on, the description or the answer, that it says. So I'm going to read it here. It says, what does black pill mean? That is what I asked. And so it said, the black pill is a nihilistic and fatalistic ideology that originated primarily within online incel, which is involuntary celibate communities. It suggests that a person's social or romantic status, particularly for men seeking relationships, is completely predetermined by fixed biological traits such as physical appearance, and that improvement is impossible. Now this actually, I'll tell you why, guys. The question is, how do I feel about this? And for me, I feel like that kind of mindset and this kind of belief can become toxic, especially towards men, because this is what the overview says. It's primarily men, but it can also affect women. And I think that having this mindset and this belief that a lot of things as far as relationships is concerned, is predetermined, predestined, because about the way you look, it's not a good way to think about things. And I know a lot of people will mention, like, oh, but there's, certain patterns. You see, this guy has this kind of girl, and this guy has this kind of luxury because he lives in these places, he works at this places, he earns this much, he drives these cars. Those are all certain attractive features that women might find interesting, and those are the kind of guys that they hang out with. And I understand that, to a certain degree that is true for a lot of people. But I don't think that basing your whole life around that is a good idea, I think that it can be toxic. Like I said, it's not good to look at certain people and put them in certain brackets. And as far as like saying that improvement is impossible, I don't know about that. I think that is also a very strong stance to take, especially even saying that things around the world in terms of improvement is not changeable. It's not, things can't be made better, because a lot of people will talk about certain problems around the world that hasn't changed, a lot of things that are still bad that still exist, a lot of things you hear in the news, a lot of things you hear on social media about certain people doing certain things, and you ask yourself, how do they get away with this and everything like that. And I understand that, that's why a lot of people have this mindset in terms of things are the way they are, and I think it's okay to have that mindset, but it's not good to let it become toxic towards your mental health and start affecting yourself, starting affecting you physically and personally and mentally, I think this whole blackpilling situation in terms of the mindset and the trend, I guess you could say, on social media is quite dangerous. I've seen a lot of those, the Patrick Bateman edits, that's in the movie American Psycho. He's got like this whole persona online, that a lot of people actually follow and look up to and say, a successful person is like that. They treat people this way. And that's dangerous, in my opinion, because obviously we all have certain ideas about morals and morality and what's right and what's wrong. But I mean, if you're looking at that and you think that is a positive in terms of that is a way to perhaps get into a relationship, I think it is dangerous to be under the mindset of blackpilling, in terms of yourself looking towards becoming that kind of person. It can get scary, it can become dangerous. But moving over to Looksmaxxing, I also wanted to find out the definition just to be a bit more accurate with what it says here. I also have heard that word online before, but I didn't know exactly what it meant. But according to the description here, I asked, what does Looksmaxxing mean, right? And it says, Looksmaxxing is an online subculture focused on maximizing physical attractiveness. It ranges from healthy grooming and fitness routines to extreme, dangerous practices Emphasis on that one. While popular on TikTok, experts warn it can fuel obsessive behaviors, body dysmorphia, and harm. Now to talk about a little bit about Looksmaxxing. How do I feel about it? I think if you ask me, is Looksmaxxing good or bad? It's not that simple, you know. I think that Looksmaxxing is just a term that's being thrown on the internet, you know, that you could say for physical self-improvement. You know, that's basically what it is. And I think that if you look at yourself and you perhaps want to improve, you know, the way you look in terms of perhaps your weight, perhaps in terms of your hair, you know, you want to start doing a routine, you know, to fix it or to make it look a certain way. You want to look after your face, you know, perhaps your eyes, your vision might be something you're worried about and you're looking to better it and improve it. Your hearing, you know, everything like that as far as the outer body is concerned. I do believe that looking to improve yourself is not a bad thing. Inherently, it's not a bad thing. But it can also, you know, if you push it too far, too much of something can be a bad thing. If you go too far and you push yourself and you go down that rabbit hole, then you start looking at yourself and you start micro-analyzing like, oh my gosh, you know, maybe my nose is too big. I got to get it sorted out. It looks bad. Or you look at your face and you go for like jaw reconstruction surgery. Or you feel like you perhaps short because you hear everything going on about social media and you're like, oh, they only like this, guys. You must be this height. That's an attractive height. So on and so forth. And you say, okay, I need to get that knee lengthening surgery. I don't know if that's a real thing, but I know that people are like going to do it and are trying to do that, you know. And they go for so much surgery, it's time to look a certain way because of what is being said online, you know. And this is why it ties so well into blackpilling, because a lot of people believe that if you look a certain way or if you don't meet certain criteria, you can't get like a girlfriend or you can't get into a relationship because these X, Y, and Z's are only what women look for in a guy, you know. And especially when it comes down to your height, like something like that is so, in my opinion, so out of your control in terms of what genetics you're born with, you know. Like how do you decide one day, okay, I want to become 6'4"? You know, then you go online and search out how to get taller. And then you do certain things, you know, and perhaps it can work. But to be under that mindset in order to trying to chase to get into a relationship, I think it can be dangerous, you know. Like I said, there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to improve yourself, but getting deep down those rabbit holes of blackpilling and Looksmaxxing can become dangerous to your mental health, because you might look at yourself a certain way and you might look at other men as competition, you know. And whether it is competition or not, you guys can let me know in the comment section about that. But you might look at other men and be like, oh, if I looked like that, I could get any kind of woman. That sort of thing, you know. And I'm talking about the men's side or the men's perspective, because I'm a man, I'm a guy. So I'm talking about it from my side. But if there's any girls or any woman, you know, that's watching this video, do let me know your thoughts about this, because it will be interesting to hear your side of things as well, you know. That is why I'm always open to hearing what different opinions there are about this. But just to wrap up my thoughts about, you know, blackpilling and Looksmaxxing, I think it can become dangerous, guys. At the end of the day, I can't tell you, you know, what you must listen to, what you mustn't listen to. Those type of decisions are for yourselves or for your own life, you know. But I would just say, just be careful, you know, especially when you're listening to these guys talking on social media, you're listening to certain podcasts or listening to certain people have opinions about, oh, you guys want to get into a relationship, you guys want to have a girlfriend, you guys got to do these things. And that can be dangerous to someone who is susceptible to hearing that advice, you know. And they might try and change their whole lifestyle. They might try and change their body, how they look and everything like that, just because they were unfortunate in certain relationships and they couldn't get into a relationship perhaps because of certain things that is out of their control, or certain things, the way they look, you know. And it's unfortunate that we live in this kind of societal culture as far as dating is concerned, where there's kind of like this, it's not even a stigma, but there's just this kind of like points, you know. If you don't look like this, or if you don't do that, or if you don't work this job, or if you don't drive this car, those are kind of certain points in terms of what makes someone attractive or not, or makes you want to be in a relationship with a person or not. It is tricky, you know, like I said. And I think if you are going to look to improve yourself, you know, do it safely, do things that are healthy for yourself, and do it out of your own kind of like doing it because you want to do it, you know. For the longest time, I've tried to like get myself physically in shape for so long, not because I was thinking about anybody else or whatever, but because I wanted to improve for myself. And I think that can be good, you know. But if you do go too far, you might start saying, oh, am I, you know, not looking the way other people want me to look, you know, especially like on social media. That is a big thing, and that can get into your headspace about you looking a certain way for a certain person because you're wanting to be in relationships. You know, they might not find you attractive, so you start like Looksmaxxing and everything like that. So it's a very deep rabbit hole you can get down. I'm just gonna say be careful, you know, and be safe in terms of what you decide to listen to, what you hear to, what you guys decide to do to your body, all those kind of things. But yeah, that's gonna be all for this video. Like I said, there's a heavy gravity to this topic, you know, because it affects so many people and it can get very serious. A lot of people just think it's like online terminology jokes and everything like that. But body dysmorphia and things like that, you know, have been around for so long, you know, for men and women as well. Especially because you look like on TV, you see social media stars, you see everything like that, and you're like, man, if I was like that, I would, you know, be better or whatever. But thank you so much, guys, for checking out this video. Huge shout out to Hudson once again for the suggestion. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Look after yourself. Make sure you guys are okay, guys. Before I actually go, make sure you guys are well mentally. Your mental health is well. You know, you guys are checking up on yourselves. Everything like that. So that's all I wanted to say, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.